Right.
So why, what happened in your estimation? What did they get right and wrong?
Well, the list of what they got right is an easy one. Now let's talk about the ones they got wrong. Just about everything. Honestly, it's quite remarkable and astounding to me that, that a professional journalist or journalists, because it wasn't just Jeff. I mean, Jeff reports to editors and editors review stuff, so you can't just point a finger at one person and say they were bad. But what I saw was a focus on let's try to be as sensational as possible. Throw out a sensationalist thesis, and then try desperately to try to find some facts that might support the thesis. And I guess one example is probably the most telling one, is Jeff McDonald and the UT reported, I believe 8 times last year, that I was under investigation by the US Attorney's Office. That's serious. I don't know how many of you know, but being investigated by on criminal charges by the US Attorney's Office is very, very, very serious. Not a light matter. They insisted 8 times. He started in February based on subpoenas that had been leaked to him from the US Attorney's Office. They were responding appropriately to questions that had been raised by the 2 whistleblowers at UCAN. In March, the next month, he sends me an email and says, I got word from the US Attorney's Office, they're not interested in the case, they're going to drop it. Asked me for confirmation. I didn't know anything, I hadn't heard from the US Attorney's Office, hadn't talked to anybody there. I said, I can't confirm it, but good news. 6 times since he sent me that email, he has repeated in his stories that I'm being investigated by the US Attorney's Office. The US Attorney's Office continues to deny that there's any investigation. I even went to the US Attorney's Office and asked them, hey, you guys investigating me? If so, I probably have some information you'd like to see. They wouldn't confirm that they were investigating me, and they said if we have any questions, we'll contact you. A year later, never have. I've never heard from the US Attorney's Office, never talked to them, and yet McDonald continues to say, I'm under investigation. As recently as November, he ran a story with the sub-headline, Federal Investigation Continues. The basis, if you read his story, you'll realize the basis for that headline was the February 2012 subpoenas upon which he wrote his most recent story. He had nothing else, and yet he continues that lie. I'm not going to speculate as to why, but that's an example of journalism probably at its worst, when you're making assertions that involve criminal investigations upon people that cannot be disproven. The US Attorney's Office will never come out and say, decline that they're making an investigation. They just don't do it.
So have you had conversations with